Okay, so I'm creating this video and it's not for fear, it's for awareness. So it's clear when they said that nothing will be private and you'll own nothing, but you'll be happy. They weren't joking. Apart from the fact that the third part of that statement, none of us are going to be very happy about it if they get to where they intend to get to. Here's a question for you. So, what if you woke up tomorrow and everything you own wasn't yours anymore? And I mean your home, if you've got land, your business, your pension, even the inheritance that you plan to leave behind for your children. What if you lost it? Not because you failed to pay your mortgage, and not because you broke the law or anything like that, and not because you made a mistake either, but because the system literally changed underneath us all quietly while we're all distracted. In this video, I need to talk to you about something that's already happening behind the scenes. And it's a process that's called tokenisation. I'd imagine most people have never heard of it. I've only just come about it myself, hence why I wanted to create this video. And it isn't some kind of just weird techie slang either, but they're using that word, which might think it's nothing. But it is the foundation actually of a future where private ownership could literally disappear, not by force, but by algorithm, by code. And this isn't me making any kind of prediction. It's actually happening. As I say, tokenisation sounds quite harmless in its name, you know, like some weird harmless tech upgrade. But here's what it actually means in this sense in terms of the digital ID infrastructure. It means every real world asset, be it your house, your land, your car, your business, your pension, even public parks and leisure centres, etc. These can all be turned into digital tokens on a centralised ledger. And once it's digitised, it becomes tradable. It becomes fractionable. It becomes repledgeable and obviously controllable by whoever controls that ledger. It's not a conspiracy theory. The UK government is already preparing for this. So the UK government had a tokenisation summit speech back in 2023, 2024. There was an FCA press release endorsing tokenised funds. The Bank of England have been exploring tokenised deposits, and councils have been creating digital asset registers. They are rebuilding the entire economy, including your property, into something they can trade, pledge, and automate. So why is this a threat? I'm going to try and explain this as best as possible and as simply as possible. Right now, if you're a homeowner, you own your home and you have a title deed. It exists in a physical form. But if your house becomes a token, you no longer own a physical asset. You'll own a digital representation of it. Bit like the digital twin they're planning for us in the digital ID frame, all the assets become a digital twin of themselves. And digital assets, they can be frozen, they can be restricted, they can be downgraded, they can be revalued, they can be transferred with just a click of a button. Real time. And if that sounds extreme, let me show you how easy this becomes. So let's have a look at some real scenarios where people could potentially lose their property and their assets. So scenario 1, let's look at the climate change agenda that's going on at the moment and how they could possibly weaponize this. So non-compliance. Imagine your area that you live in is reclassified as a high emissions zone. Your home then is labelled non-compliant. So you're non-compliant in this zone. Now that could today potentially mean a fine. But tomorrow, when your home is a digital token, the system can automatically downgrade it. So that means instantly reduced value, forced green upgrades for your home that you can't afford, taxes, environmental remediation fees, and if you can't pay, the token can be captured. Don't forget, you no longer own a physical asset. You have a digital token that they can grab. A bit like repossession, except it will be instant, it'll be automated, and it'll be unchallengeable because you won't be dealing with people, you'll be dealing with an AI algorithm. Scenario 2, so an economic crisis. Let's put ourselves in an economic crisis and public debt, for example. So we're entering the deepest debt cycle in modern history at the moment, all around the world really. And local councils in the UK are already bankrupt. We've got Birmingham Council, Nottingham, Croydon, Slough. There's a few examples that have already announced financial difficulties. And when public assets are tokenised, councils literally can pledge roads, parks, buildings, land. These can be collateral for new debt. And when they fail to repay, the tokens, the assets, are captured. And this is the exact scenario of you will own nothing. Scenario 3, a personal economic emergency. Imagine you lose your job in the next financial problem. Say it's a recession. Your asset, your home that you own, is already a digital token. The banks can impose dynamic interest based on algorithmic risk. So your ownership score will change. So your payments would adjust automatically. And one missed month and the token can be frozen or sold. Scenario 4. What about the middle class? Well, the middle class probably think this won't affect them. It's usually the working class that struggle. But actually, I think they are the biggest target. Tokenisation makes it easier for foreign investors, private equity, sovereign funds to buy your neighbourhood, your area, block by block, street by street. So your home becomes a digital chip in a global casino. It's like digital monopoly. I want you to cast your mind back a little bit on when our systems get things wrong. I know that some people are still saying, if you've done nothing wrong, why worry about digital ID, etc. But let me show you why that thinking is actually quite dangerous. Because in this country, innocent people lose everything all the time. And not because they did anything wrong, but because the system failed. Here's an example. The post office scandal, For 20 years, the Horizon computer system falsely accused more than 900 sub-postmasters of theft, fraud and false accounting. People lost their homes, their businesses, their marriages, and some lost their lives. They had done nothing wrong, but the system said they had, and that was enough. And here's another example, the Windrush scandal. Windrush families who had every legal right to live in the UK were suddenly told they were illegal, and they lost their jobs, their homes, their pensions, their healthcare, their entire identity. Why? Because the government lost their documents, a digital error, a bureaucratic mistake, and innocent families were literally destroyed. Another example, benefits algorithms. In 2023, more than 200,000 disabled and vulnerable people were wrongly flagged by government algorithms. They lost support, their income, some were evicted, and sadly some died. So you still think doing nothing wrong protects you? And another example, not in this country though, but it's a good example to consider. In India, the Aadhaar biometric system, which is their digital ID, was promoted the same way. If you've done nothing wrong, you've nothing to worry about. And then the system started failing. Fingerprints not recognised, iris scans corrupted, people denied food rations, people's pensions were blocked, services frozen, hackers stealing identities, allowing them to clone those digital twins. In one government report, over 1 billion Aadhaar numbers were breached in a single incident. So we've got to be clear about this. If a government system or digital ID system makes a mistake, your innocence does not matter at all. Here's another scenario, inheritance. It's going to be a big one. Inheritance, I think, is one of the real battlefields that we've got going on right now. Obviously today, if you're a homeowner, you can leave your house to your children when you pass away. You know, they obviously tax it heavily as it is and cause many problems that way, but it's an asset you can pass on. Tomorrow, your child would inherit a digital token. As I say, wouldn't be the physical asset, it would be the twin, the digital twin of your house. So it's a token. And the token can come with restrictions, a smart contract condition, compliance agreements, forced retrofit obligations, transfer fees, penalties, revaluation, and all access linked and tied to your personal digital identification. And if your children don't meet the criteria, the token can be frozen or reclaimed. That should terrify the majority of us, and because that is how generational wealth is erased. So why is digital ID the gateway to this horrendously wicked situation? Well, none of this works without the digital ID. None of it. Digital ID is the key that connects you to the tokens. So if there's no digital ID, you've no access to your digital property. With no wallet, you've no proof of ownership. So your account gets frozen and pretty much your life is hanging on the balance there. This is exactly why we must resist digital ID. And I do say, you know, we look to do this peacefully, lawfully, but very firmly. So you might be thinking at this point, it's a bit far-fetched this, and where's your evidence that tokenisation is already happening? The IMF, the World Economic Forum, and World Bank documents clearly on tokenised real-world assets. And BlackRock are calling tokenisation the next evolution of markets. It's simple. If we don't act now, your family may be the last generation to actually own anything. So what can you do to protect your assets? Well, it's going to be tricky, but let's have a look at some of the options that are probably easy enough to tackle from the off. And I think we should all be looking to do these points and maybe more. If you think of more, please add them into the comments, because we've got to work together on this one. So number one, let's contact our local council. Let's request confirmation that our properties are not included in any digital asset register or tokenisation pilot. Number 2, speak to a solicitor. Ask specifically about digital land registries, tokenisation, wills and trust protection, generational protection structures. 3, we must refuse digital ID at all costs. Do not onboard onto one login or the GOVUK wallet. This is the access point. This is the infrastructure that they want us all on, which is going to control each and every one of us day by day, 24/7. 4, move assets into physical documentation where possible. 5, join a local community group. Bit of a resistance group maybe. Ones that are already opposing this digital prison that they're planning for us. It's better to be in numbers. Collective refusal is much stronger than individual refusal. Much stronger. Tokenisation is not a conspiracy theory. It's not hypothetical. It's not in the distant future. It is happening. And it's happening right now. And it's happening right now in the UK. So your digital ID will decide whether you keep what you've worked all your life for, or whether it becomes a digital chip in someone else's system. This is the moment we stand up. It has to be the moment that we say no, collectively. We have to protect our families, our future, and the generations that come after us. There is only now. We are literally the only ones that can stop this. Because once it's in, it's going to be a real problem to get out of. So please, share this video. Speak to your neighbours, speak to friends, speak to strangers. And whatever you do, let's not give them the key to our lives.